So I'm just going to say a few words about Russia's election, which really does deserve inverted commas. Well, firstly, what appears to be the result, it hasn't been finalized yet, but what appears to be the result really is not surprising. Putin's winning. Um, and the exact figures are fluctuating somewhere between 73 and 76%. It's really not that surprising. Second position seems to be the official Communist Party candidate, Pavel Grudinin, and third place, Vladimir Shiranovsky. But the truth is, they're a very distant second and third. Grudinin, I don't know much about him. He's a businessman, and he's only been put up as a front as a communist candidate. Ironically, he's a billionaire, excuse me, a millionaire businessman. So that's a bit of a paradox. Shiranovsky, anyone who's followed Russian politics at all won't need an introduction to this guy. A complete fanatic in the ironically named Liberal Democratic Party. Um, a complete fanatic, a very dangerous individual. Thankfully, not taken very seriously, although having said that, he still is in third position. But he has a very long record of pretty vulgar behaviour, and he makes some of the world's worst demagogues look almost angelic. He's ultra racist, ultra neo nationalist, basically a scumbag. There was an incident during the televised debates where Ksenia Sobchak threw water over him. And whether she should have done that or not, say make of that what you will. But Shiranovsky really is despicable. Um, so goodness knows if he was bombing the Kremlin, we really would have a third world war. Bad as Putin is, and as critical as I am of Putin, probably by Russian standards, Putin is centrist. Um, there really isn't much more to say because it was a foregone conclusion. What happens next? Well, Putin's 65. This will bring him up to 2024 when he will be 72. If he decides to run in 2030, in 2024, as I understand it, he'll have to step down because the Russian constitution doesn't allow for a third term. Whether they try to fix that like the Chinese have done, I don't know. But what he done last time was have Dmitry Medvedev as a sort of puppet president. And I don't think there was any real doubt that Putin was the real power in the Medvedev years. Um, so it could be Medvedev again. I think it's possible that Lavrov will take up the helm in 2024 for 6 years and kind of be the front for the end of Putin's influence in Russia. This is Russia Today. I just thought I would hold that up. I've been very critical of RT, so you might wonder why I'm watching it. Well, it's just interesting to see the angle that they take. They're covering the other candidates, but the truth is, Alexei Navalny, who's the only really credible candidate, is, he's boycotted the election. He may well call for a big street protest. I don't know. But Ksenia Sobchak has got a lot of attention as well because she's a former reality TV star. Now, clearly, she's not very credible presidential material, but on a personal level, I think she's been quite brave. I mean, people can say what they want about her, but to actually publicly say that she's against Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea in Russia is a brave thing to do. Um, that can get her into serious hot water. This is the two British RT stooges. I have to be honest, I feel disgusted when I hear British accents towing the Kremlin's line. I mean, they were whinging a while back about Western media, and imagine if, well, not them too. There was one of the other correspondents. Imagine if we, RT, reported the West in this sort of way. You do all the time, all the time. So basically, they were complaining about Western media's critical coverage of Russia. Well, firstly, you can hardly be surprised in this country that we're not exactly friendly with Russia right now, given that we've been the victim of a nerve attack. Um, Leaving that side, for RT to play the victim is utterly pathetic. RT has been spreading conspiracy theories and mistrust and disinformation for years. I mean, it's a complete joke. Um, and those Britons who work for it, quite honestly, I feel disgusted that they're doing that because they're stabbing their country in the back. All they're doing is pandering to, there's the man himself. Of course, adoring crowds there. There have been allegations of ballot boxes being stuffed multiple times for Putin. Putin relied on a high turnout, and it looks like there has indeed been a high turnout. Now, here's the thing: I don't doubt that within Russia, Putin probably is genuinely popular. Russians have always admired a strong leader or a leader perceived to be strong. So I think the popularity is probably sincere. But what happens next? Well, when Putin steps down in 2024, as presumably he'll have to, I can't see him going quietly into the into the dark back back rooms of power. I think he's going to be again the puppet master behind whoever is president, whether it be Medvedev or Lavrov. Medvedev's still fairly young. Lavrov, I believe, is in his 60s. Putin, if he chose to run again in 2030, would be 77, so it's that would be pushing it a bit. I know Andropov and Chernenko were definitely old men when they were in office, although they were far less powerful than Putin is. Um, it's not inconceivable there have been older world leaders, but already it's difficult to imagine a time when Putin hasn't been in charge. I mean, effectively, if you count those 4 years of Medvedev with Putin being the real power, then Putin's been in charge in Russia for 18 years. And he's just surpassed the record of Leonid Brezhnev by 2 months. Um, I was referring to the Skripal case here. There you have it. I don't know if you heard the audio there, but Putin denying it and saying it would be crazy for him to do that before the election in the World Cup. No, I think it would be totally logical because it shores up his base. It makes him look tough on Britain. That's logical. Um, Talking of the World Cup, I do think Britons will need to be very careful going over there because Russian hooligans will be out in force, and the Russian state has shown that it isn't going to do anything about that. Um, anyway, I'm going to round this up soon. There really isn't much more to say, but RT playing the victim and talking about Western meddling in the Russian election is a bit of a joke when the Russian state, guided primarily with RT as a weapon, as a propaganda weapon, has been meddling in the West for years, and it's been manipulating information in the West for years. It supports Scottish independence. It supported the Catalan independence movement. It invites on conspiracy theorists to sow up mistrust. It invites on people with a grudge. It's vociferously anti-Western. I mean, anyone that can't see RT's agenda is just clueless. They just don't. They can't see what is so blatantly obvious. What this network does, um, and it really is a joke. So yeah, Putin's got another term. I'm really not surprised. The man is dangerous. He has um, invaded Georgia. He's illegally annexed part of Ukraine. He's constantly threatening the Baltic states. with showing off Russian missiles. Um, his regime has waged an information war in the West, seeking to stir up mistrust and disinformation as much as possible, and has created hell on earth in Syria by propping up the brutal Assad dictatorship. It's utterly, utterly shameful. And not to mention the crackdown and dissent within Russia, the limits on press freedom. RT is not an example of press freedom because RT is a mouthpiece of the Kremlin. Um, it really is a pretty damning indictment. The only thing I would say for Putin is that he probably has showed up a sense of Russian pride and nationalism, and his management of the economy has probably been a lot better than Yeltsin's. But other than that, he really is just a classic authoritarian. And he's presided over a pretty nasty regime. There's absolutely no question about it. I'm just going to round this up now, but it's just the way RT goes about things is a complete and utter joke. And the Britons who work for RT and who are knowingly, through their teeth, spreading anti-Western propaganda, I think they're despicable. I really do. I have no respect for them. And if they were, you know, deprived of the British passports, I really would have no sympathy. Because what are they doing? They're working for a weapon of the Russian state, and I do consider RT a weapon. Its agenda is to destabilize and sow mistrust within the West. It's a power tool. It's not just an alternative opinion. It's not just a news network. People need to wake up and see what it is doing. It's utterly despicable. Leave it there.